let me ask you this. Hello, and welcome back to English Café. Let me ask you something. Do you wait for the right time to start speaking English? Maybe you think, I will speak when I know more vocabulary, or I will speak when I feel more confident. But that day never comes, does it? Months go by, and you still feel nervous to open your mouth. You still wait, and waiting becomes a habit. I understand. Many learners feel this way. They study grammar, they watch videos, they memorize words. But when it's time to speak, they freeze. They think, I'm not ready yet. And they wait. But let me tell you a secret. You don't become ready first. You become ready by doing. You don't become good at speaking by waiting. You become good by doing. You become good by speaking, early and often, even if it's not perfect, even if it's just a few words, even if you are alone. Speaking early is like planting a seed. At first, the seed is small and quiet, but with water, with sunlight, and with time, it grows. The more you speak, the faster your English grows, and the stronger your English becomes. So in this video, we are going to learn how to do that. I will show you how to start speaking English even if you are a beginner. I will give you simple ways to speak every day without stress. Don't worry, it's not difficult. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need a big vocabulary. You just need your voice and a little bit of courage. Together, we will make speaking English a daily habit. We will speak in the morning, in the evening, at home, and even while walking. And guess what? You will feel the change. Day by day, your confidence will grow. Your words will come faster. Your fear will become smaller. So stay with me till the end. Because I promise you, if you follow this step by step, your English will grow faster than you think. And you will stop saying, one day I will speak, because you will already be speaking today. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why speaking early is the secret to success. One of the biggest mistakes learners make when trying to improve their English is waiting for the perfect moment to speak. They think, I'll speak when I feel more confident, or I'll speak when my vocabulary is better. But here's the problem. Waiting doesn't make you confident. It doesn't make your vocabulary stronger. In fact, the longer you wait, the longer it takes to improve. So why is speaking early so important? Simply put, fluency comes through repetition, not perfection. The more you speak, the more natural it becomes. And no, you don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to speak. Imagine you're learning to play the guitar. At first, you might struggle with the chords. Your fingers might feel awkward, and the sound isn't quite right. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. Your hands start to move more easily. Your fingers find the strings more naturally. And soon enough, you can play without thinking too much. Speaking English works the same way. At first, your mouth may feel stiff. You might forget words or make mistakes. But the more you speak, the more your mouth, brain, and ears start to work together. You don't need to wait until everything is perfect. You just need to practice, and little by little, your confidence and fluency will grow. Let me show you an example of how simple daily speech can build real fluency. Imagine you're brushing your teeth in the morning. Instead of staying quiet, try saying, "I am brushing my teeth." Simple, right? You're already doing the action, so why not practice saying it out loud in English? It's small moments like this that add up over time. Every time you speak, even to yourself, you train your mouth, your brain, and your ears. You're teaching your body to remember the sounds, the rhythm, and the flow of English. You don't need a huge vocabulary to start. Even the simplest sentences like, "I am making coffee" or "I am walking to work" are helping you get used to speaking. The key here is repetition. Just like lifting weights to build muscle, speaking helps to build your English. Speaking is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. So instead of waiting for the perfect moment, start speaking now, even if it's just a few words every day. The good news is you don't have to wait until you're fluent to start speaking. In fact, speaking early is the fastest way to reach fluency. Even small actions like talking to yourself while cooking or describing what you see when you're walking outside will add up. Next time you feel the urge to wait, remember this. Fluency isn't about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about speaking, even when you're unsure. The more you do it, the better you'll get. Chapter 2. How to start speaking. When you're still a beginner. A lot of learners ask, "But I don't know enough words. How can I speak?" It's a common concern, especially if you're just starting to learn English. You might feel like you need a huge vocabulary or complex grammar to have a conversation, but the truth is, you don't need to know everything to start speaking. You just need to use the words you know, and you probably know more than you think. Start simple. When you're just beginning, you don't need to make complicated sentences or use advanced vocabulary. In fact, the simpler, the better. Even using basic, everyday sentences helps your brain build fluency. Think about it. Every time you speak, you're giving your brain practice. The more you use English, the easier it gets. Let's look at some examples of easy, present tense sentences that you can say to describe your day-to-day life. I am cooking. I like tea. This is my phone. I am walking. These sentences don't require a huge vocabulary, but they help you practice using the words you know. And the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get with forming sentences in English. Use what you're doing right now. Here's a powerful tip. Try to speak about the things you are doing in the present moment. This is called the present tense, and it's the simplest form of speaking. While you're at home, work, or anywhere, talk about what's happening right now. For example, if you're cooking lunch, say, "I am cooking lunch." If you're reading a book, say, "I am reading a book." Even if you're just sitting on the couch, you can say, "I am sitting on the couch." It doesn't matter if it's just a few words. The key is to start. Speaking about what's happening right now makes it easier because you don't need to memorize anything new. You already know what you're doing, so it's easy to describe it in English. Don't worry about making mistakes. Another common fear learners have is worrying about mistakes. You might think, what if I say something wrong? Or, what if I don't sound perfect? Here's the truth. Mistakes are part of learning. In fact, they are a sign that you are practicing and improving. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn something new. Keep it short. If you're worried about speaking too much or saying the wrong thing, remember, you can always start small. You don't have to say a long sentence or talk for minutes at a time. Even saying one or two simple things is progress. The important thing is that you're speaking and practicing. For example, you can start with short sentences like, I am happy, I like music, I have a dog. You don't need to wait until you know every word in the dictionary. The more you speak in simple sentences, the more your brain will get used to the rhythm and flow of English. You're building fluency with each sentence, no matter how small. Get comfortable with the basics. Think of speaking as a muscle. At first, it might feel weak, but the more you use it, the stronger it gets. The basics are the foundation of fluency. So, embrace speaking even if it's not perfect. Even if you only know a few words, speaking about what you know, like your favorite food or what you did today, will help you build confidence. Stop worrying about not knowing enough. This is a big one. Stop being afraid of not knowing enough. Every learner has been there. You may feel like you don't have enough words or phrases to say, but that's part of the process. The more you speak, the more words and phrases you'll naturally learn. And remember, you don't need a big vocabulary to start speaking. You just need to speak with what you have, and the rest will follow. Chapter 3. Your voice is your best teacher. Talk to yourself. You might be thinking, wait, talk to myself? It sounds a little strange at first, but believe me, it's one of the most powerful ways to build your fluency in English. Speaking aloud in private, whether you're at home, walking, or even just sitting in your car, is a simple technique that helps you practice speaking without the fear of making mistakes in front of others. The power of self-talk. Self-talk is exactly what it sounds like. Speaking to yourself in English. It's not just about saying random things. It's about describing what you're doing, how you feel, and what you plan to do. This technique helps you practice the language in a relaxed, judgment-free environment. You can do it anytime, anywhere. And the best part? You don't need a partner to do it. For example, when you're walking around your house, you can say things like, I am walking in my living room. I feel tired today. I will make lunch soon. By describing your actions, feelings, and plans out loud, you get to practice forming sentences and using vocabulary. Even though no one else is around, your brain still learns and gets better at speaking. Confidence comes first. I know what you might be thinking, but I'm not confident enough to speak. Here's the secret. Confidence comes first. You don't need to wait until you feel confident to speak. Confidence comes from practicing. The more you speak aloud, the more comfortable you'll get with your own voice in English. When you speak to yourself, it's safe. There's no pressure. You can take your time and focus on getting the words out, even if they're not perfect. Over time, your confidence will grow, and soon enough, speaking in English will feel just as natural as speaking in your native language. Fluency follows. Confidence. Let's talk about fluency for a moment. Fluency doesn't come from waiting or hoping. It comes from speaking regularly, even if it's just talking to yourself. The more often you practice speaking aloud, the more fluent you will become. Fluency is built over time, through repetition, not perfection. Think of speaking like learning to play an instrument. You don't become fluent overnight. You don't pick up a guitar and play a beautiful song right away. But with regular practice, small steps every day, you'll get better. And soon, speaking will feel just as easy. Describing your actions and plans. Start with simple self-talk by describing what you're doing in the present moment. If you're making breakfast, you can say, I am cooking eggs. I am putting butter on the bread. I am drinking coffee. This simple habit helps you get used to speaking and forming sentences. Over time, try to talk about your plans and feelings. For example, I will study later today. I feel happy right now. I am going to visit my friend tomorrow. The more you practice describing your day, your thoughts, and your actions, the more comfortable you'll get with the language. Speaking without fear. One of the best things about self-talk is that you don't need to worry about making mistakes. When you're alone, there's no one to judge you. This is your chance to speak freely, without fear. You're allowed to make mistakes, and that's actually part of the learning process. The more mistakes you make in a safe space, the less you'll fear them in real conversations. Think of it this way. If you practice speaking in private, when you finally have the chance to speak with others, you'll feel much more prepared. You'll already be used to the act of speaking, and that fear of making mistakes will start to disappear. You don't need a partner to practice. Self-talk is the perfect way to practice every day, without needing a language partner. You don't have to wait for someone else to have a conversation with you. Whenever you're doing something, at home, running errands, or even while taking a walk, use those moments to speak in English. By doing this, you're constantly improving your speaking skills. The more you speak, the more your fluency grows. Your voice is your best teacher. Remember, your voice is your best teacher. Speaking is the most important part of learning a language, and self-talk is a great way to start. It may feel strange at first, but I promise it's one of the best ways to build confidence and fluency. So, don't be afraid to talk to yourself in English. Every time you do, you're getting closer to becoming the fluent speaker you want to be. Speak aloud, describe what you're doing, and make it a habit. You'll be amazed at how much progress you can make, all on your own. Chapter 4. Speak first, correct later. Why mistakes are okay. It's time to give yourself permission to make mistakes. I know, this might sound strange. After all, we usually try to avoid mistakes, right? But here's the truth. Mistakes are part of the process, and if you're not making them, you're probably not learning. The truth about mistakes. Think about how babies learn language. They don't get everything right. In fact, they make a lot of mistakes. But that's how they learn. They say things like, me go store, instead of, I'm going to the store. They don't worry about making mistakes because they're focused on communication, not perfection. They try, and they keep trying until they get it right. And guess what? You can do the same. When you speak English, it's not about getting every word perfect. It's about trying to communicate, and over time, you'll naturally improve. Common learner fears. Now, I know what you're thinking. But what if I say it wrong? What if I look silly? These are common fears that stop learners from speaking, but here's the thing. Everyone makes mistakes. Every single person who has ever learned a language has made mistakes. It's completely normal. In fact, it's a sign that you're on the right track. The fear of making mistakes is one of the biggest obstacles to speaking confidently. If you're worried about looking silly or saying something wrong, it's easy to stay silent, but that only holds you back. Silence doesn't help you learn. Speaking does. Focus on communication, not grammar. When you're learning a new language, it's easy to focus on getting grammar and vocabulary perfect. But the truth is, communication is more important than perfection. If you make a mistake but still manage to communicate your message, that's a success. The goal is for others to understand you. If they understand what you mean, you've done your job as a speaker. For example, let's say you want to tell someone that you are tired. You might say, "I'm tired very much." It's not perfect English, but it still communicates your idea clearly. People will understand you. The more you focus on getting your message across, the more comfortable you'll become with speaking. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Learn from them. Making mistakes is actually one of the best ways to learn. Every time you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to improve. Here's how you can turn mistakes into learning moments. 1. Notice the mistake. When you realize you said something wrong, think about what you meant to say. For example, if you said, "I am cooking the dinner" instead of "I am cooking dinner," notice that the word "the" isn't necessary. 2. Correct it. Say it again correctly. This helps your brain remember the right way to say it next time. 3. Repeat it. Practice the correct version. The more you repeat, the stronger your brain becomes at forming the right sentences. The key here is not to get discouraged when you make mistakes. Mistakes aren't failures, they're opportunities. Instead of letting mistakes stop you, use them as a chance to improve. Why mistakes are a good sign. In fact, the more mistakes you make, the faster you're learning. That might sound crazy, but it's true. If you're making mistakes, it means you're pushing yourself. You're trying to use the language, and that's exactly how you get better. The people who make the most mistakes are often the ones who are learning the fastest. Remember, it's all about practice. The more you practice speaking, the fewer mistakes you'll make over time. But even when you do make mistakes, you can learn from them. Take action. Don't wait for perfection. One of the biggest traps learners fall into is waiting until they're perfect before they speak. They think, "I'll speak when I know more vocabulary," or "I'll speak when I'm better at grammar." But here's the reality. Waiting for perfection means you'll never speak at all. You can't wait for the perfect moment. You have to speak now, even if it's not perfect. The more you speak, the faster you'll improve, and the fewer mistakes you'll make in the future. So speak first, correct later. Focus on getting your message out there and don't worry about being perfect. Over time, your speaking will get better and those mistakes will become less frequent. Mistakes are the path to success. So let me say it again. Mistakes are okay. They're not something to fear. They're proof that you're trying, and they're a sign that you're learning. Every time you make a mistake, you're one step closer to fluency. Stop worrying about looking silly, and stop trying to get everything perfect. Instead, focus on communicating and keep speaking. You'll improve much faster than if you stay quiet and wait for the right moment. Chapter 5. Simple Speaking Routines You Can Start Today. In this chapter, we're going to turn speaking English into a habit, something that becomes a natural part of your day. The good news is, you don't need hours of practice or a fancy language class to get better at speaking. Small routines, done consistently, will help you speak more confidently and fluently. Let's dive into some simple speaking routines that you can start today. 1. Speak to yourself in the mirror. Just 3 sentences. One of the easiest ways to build confidence is by speaking to yourself in the mirror. It might feel a little strange at first, but it's a powerful way to practice speaking aloud without any pressure. Start with just 3 simple sentences. They don't have to be complex. They just need to be something you can say easily. For example, I'm standing in front of the mirror. This is my phone. I feel happy today. These simple sentences are a great way to get your mouth used to forming English sounds. Plus, when you say them aloud, your brain begins to associate English with real actions in your life. It makes the language feel more natural. Record a 1-minute audio every morning. If you want to see fast improvement, try recording yourself speaking for just 1 minute every morning. You don't need to make a big plan. Just speak about whatever comes to mind. You could talk about your plans for the day, how you feel, or something you learned recently. Here's how you can make it easy. Today I am going to work. I have breakfast at 8 a.m. and then I will meet my friend. I feel tired, but I'm excited for the weekend. The key is to speak out loud and hear your own voice. Over time, you'll start to notice areas where you can improve. But don't worry, this isn't about perfection. It's about practice. By recording yourself, you can also listen to your pronunciation and track your progress. 3. Do a What I Did Today review every night. At the end of your day, take just 2 to 3 minutes to review what you did in English. This is a great way to practice past tense sentences and to use English in a more natural, conversational way. You can talk about your day like you're telling a friend, or even just reminding yourself of everything that happened. Here's an example of what you might say. Today I went to work. I had lunch with my colleague. After that, I went home and watched a movie. I went shopping and bought a new shirt. It was a good day. This simple routine will help your brain get used to forming sentences and will make you feel more comfortable speaking about everyday events. Plus, you'll get more practice with the past tense and start to feel more confident when talking about the past. 4. Practice with easy questions. Another simple routine is to ask yourself easy questions every day. You can do this in the mirror while recording or just in your head. The key is to answer them out loud so your brain and mouth work together. Here are a few examples. What did you have for breakfast? What is your favorite color? What did you do last weekend? By answering these questions every day, you'll practice forming quick responses. This is a great way to get used to speaking in real-life situations without having to prepare too much. The more you do this, the more comfortable it will feel. Set a daily speaking goal. A great way to build consistency is by setting a speaking goal every day. You don't need to speak for an hour. Just focus on small, manageable targets. For example, speak for 5 minutes in the morning. Record yourself speaking for 1 minute. Talk to yourself in the mirror for 3 sentences. You can even make a checklist, so every day you check off a task that involves speaking. Over time, these small routines will build up, and your confidence will grow. Why these routines work. The reason these routines are so effective is simple: consistency. When you practice speaking a little bit every day, you build a habit. And habits are what make language learning easier. The more you practice, the more natural speaking English becomes. You start to think in English, and speaking doesn't feel like a challenge anymore. It just feels like part of your life. These routines also help with confidence. You'll see that speaking isn't something to be afraid of. It's just something you do. The more you speak, the less you'll worry about mistakes. And before you know it, you'll be speaking more confidently without even thinking about it. Start today. You don't need a special time or place to practice English. You just need to start right now, whether it's in front of the mirror while recording a short audio or reviewing your day. Remember, small steps lead to big progress. The more you speak, the faster your fluency will grow. So, what's your first speaking routine going to be? I'd love for you to try one of these today. Start small and make it a daily habit. Before you know it, you'll be speaking English naturally every single day. Chapter 6. Practice with real-life English. Even if you're alone. One of the most common challenges English learners face is the lack of opportunities to practice speaking with others. But here's the good news. You don't need a partner to practice speaking. You can still simulate real conversations by using your imagination and role-playing different situations on your own. In this chapter, we're going to explore how to practice real-life English at home, even when you're alone. Why simulating conversations is so powerful. The key to fluency is practice. You can learn grammar and vocabulary all day, but if you don't actually practice speaking, it's harder to develop real-life communication skills. Simulating real-world conversations lets you practice English in context, which makes it more natural and easier to remember. When you imagine real-life situations and speak them aloud, you're doing more than just memorizing vocabulary. You're practicing how to use English in practical everyday situations. The more you do it, the easier it will feel to speak English when you're actually in those situations in real life. How to role play real conversations. You don't need a conversation partner to practice. In fact, you can role play both sides of a conversation. The trick is to think about the situation and act it out, speaking both the questions and the answers. Let's look at some examples. 1. Ordering food at a restaurant. Imagine you're at a restaurant and you want to order food. You can role-play both parts of the conversation. You, the customer. Hi, I'd like to order a pizza, please. You, the waiter. Sure. What toppings would you like? You, the customer. I'd like mushrooms and pepperoni, please. You, the waiter. Great. Your pizza will be ready in about 15 minutes. Role-playing this situation helps you practice how to order food confidently, which is something you'll likely do in real life. The more you practice, the more natural it will feel when you're in an actual restaurant. 2. Asking for directions. Next, imagine you're lost and need to ask someone for directions. Practice both the question and the answer. You, the tourist. Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the train station? You, the local. Sure. Go straight for 2 blocks, then turn left. It's just around the corner. You, the tourist. Thank you so much. You, the local. You're welcome. Have a great day. Again, this role-playing helps you practice how to ask for directions in English. You might not need it today, but when you do, you'll feel confident because you've practiced it before. 3. Asking for help in a store. Another important situation is asking for help when shopping. Practice this conversation on your own. You, the customer. Excuse me, where can I find the milk? You, the store assistant. The milk is in the dairy section near the back of the store. You, the customer. Thank you. You, the store assistant. You're welcome. This is a simple but practical conversation you might have at any store. By practicing these types of questions and answers, you're preparing yourself for real interactions, making them feel less intimidating when they happen. Using your imagination for different scenarios. Don't just stick to the basics, get creative with your scenarios. The more varied the situations you practice, the more confident you'll feel when speaking English. Here are some additional examples you can try. At the airport, practice checking in for a flight, asking about your gate, or finding your luggage. At the doctor's office, practice explaining your symptoms and understanding the doctor's advice. At a job interview, practice answering common interview questions, like, "Tell me about yourself," or "Why should we hire you?" At a hotel, role-play checking into a hotel, asking for a wake-up call, or requesting extra towels. You can even think about different types of people you might encounter in these situations. What if the person you're speaking to doesn't understand you? What if they speak too fast? Practice how to handle these situations too. Why you don't need a partner to practice. A lot of learners feel they need a partner to practice speaking, but the truth is, you can practice on your own and still get great results. Role-playing with yourself is a great way to build confidence, because you can practice without worrying about making mistakes in front of someone else. Plus, when you practice alone, you can take your time. You can repeat things as many times as you want, correct yourself, and focus on getting the pronunciation and sentences just right. It's a safe space to experiment with new vocabulary, test out different sentence structures, and practice until you feel comfortable. How to make it a habit. The best way to see progress is to make this kind of practice a habit. Set aside a few minutes every day to role play. You don't need hours of practice, just consistent, focused time. Try this. Set a timer for 5 to 10 minutes and practice 1 or 2 scenarios. Choose a different scenario each day so you're covering different topics. If you have more time, practice multiple scenarios. It's also helpful to use different voices while role-playing. Pretend you're the customer, the store assistant, the waiter. Switch it up to help you practice different types of speech and reactions. Conclusion. Simulating real-life conversations and role-playing is an extremely effective way to build your speaking skills, even when you're by yourself. The key is to imagine real-world situations, speak the dialogues out loud, and practice often. It doesn't matter if you don't have a partner. What matters is that you're using your voice and your imagination to get better every day. So, start practicing today. Think of a situation you might encounter in real life and practice speaking it out loud. The more you do it, the more prepared you'll be for real conversations when they happen. And remember, consistency is the key to improvement. Chapter 7. How to make speaking fun, not stressful learning. English doesn't have to be stressful. In fact, it shouldn't be. One of the best ways to keep improving is to make your speaking practice fun. If you approach learning with a sense of enjoyment, you'll feel more motivated, less nervous, and more willing to keep practicing every day. In this chapter, we're going to explore how you can make speaking English enjoyable by adding fun activities to your routine. Why fun is important in learning. When you make learning fun, it stops feeling like a chore. The stress of, I have to speak perfectly, fades away, and you start focusing on enjoyment. This shift in attitude helps you learn faster because your brain becomes more open and relaxed. Instead of worrying about mistakes, you'll be having fun. And when you have fun, you'll want to keep practicing, which leads to progress. Fun speaking activities also help you build confidence. The more you enjoy yourself, the more comfortable you'll feel speaking. It's easy to feel shy or nervous when you're trying to do something perfectly, but if you focus on having fun, your fear of mistakes decreases. How to speak along with songs. One of the most enjoyable ways to practice speaking English is by singing along with songs. Not only is this fun, but it's also a great way to improve your pronunciation, rhythm, and listening skills. Songs often use everyday language, and singing them helps you remember common phrases and expressions. Here's how to use songs as a speaking tool. 1. Pick a song you like. It could be in English or any language you enjoy listening to. 2. Sing along. Try to match the rhythm, pronunciation, and emotion of the song. Don't worry if you don't get every word right. Just enjoy the process. 3. Repeat the lyrics as much as possible. This helps you get used to the sounds of English. 5. Learn the meaning of the song. If there are words or phrases you don't know, look them up and try to use them in your own speaking practice. For example, if you enjoy pop songs, you could pick a favorite song like Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. While singing, you'll practice English pronunciation, stress patterns, and vocabulary in a relaxed way. And remember, no one is judging your singing voice. You're just having fun with English. Repeat lines from movies or shows. Another great way to make speaking practice fun is by repeating lines from movies or TV shows. This allows you to practice real, natural English and can also improve your listening skills. Many movies and shows use casual, everyday language, which helps you sound more like a native speaker. Here's how you can do it. 1. Choose a scene from a movie or show you enjoy. Pick something with dialogue that you can easily repeat. 2. Pause the video after each sentence and try to repeat it out loud. Focus on matching the tone, accent, and pronunciation of the actor or actress. 3. Act it out. Don't just say the words. Try to imitate the actions or emotions of the characters too. This helps you feel more connected to the language. For example, if you love a show like Friends, you can repeat Joey's famous line, "How you doin'?" and try saying it with the same attitude as the character. It's a fun way to practice intonation and conversational English. Pretend to give a speech in English. If you want to take your speaking practice to the next level, try pretending to give a speech. It's like practicing for a presentation, but with no pressure to be perfect. You could talk about anything, your favorite hobby, how your day went, or even why you love learning English. Here's how to do it. 1. Pick a topic you're passionate about. It could be something as simple as what I did today, or as big as the importance of learning English. 2. Stand up and talk out loud. Try to explain your thoughts clearly, as if you were presenting to an audience. 3. Record yourself if you can. This will allow you to listen back and spot any areas where you could improve. Giving speeches in English is a great way to practice speaking fluidly and confidently. You can imagine yourself in a classroom or giving a TED Talk. It's a way to let your creativity and your English skills shine. Speaking games to make practice fun. Speaking games are another fantastic way to keep things light and enjoyable. These games help you practice English in a low-pressure, fun environment. Here are a few you can try. 1. 20 questions. In this game, one person, or you, if you're practicing alone, thinks of an object, and the other player has to guess what it is by asking yes or no questions. For example, is it something you can eat? Is it a piece of technology? Is it bigger than a car? This game helps you practice asking questions, forming sentences, and thinking quickly in English. 2. Tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are a fun and silly way to practice your pronunciation. They can also help improve your fluency by making you speak faster and clearer. Here are a few examples. She sells seashells by the seashore. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Try saying them faster and faster while focusing on pronouncing each word clearly. It's a fun way to challenge yourself. 3. Storytelling games. In this game, you create a story, one sentence at a time. You can start with something simple like, once upon a time, a rabbit went on an adventure. Then, add another sentence like, the rabbit met a bear in the forest. Keep building the story and practicing your speaking along the way. This game is great for practicing storytelling, sequencing ideas, and speaking fluently. Make English a part of your everyday fun. The key to keeping speaking practice enjoyable is to integrate it into your everyday life. Find ways to make it a fun part of your routine, like practicing with your favorite songs, TV shows, or games. This way, you won't see speaking as a boring task. You'll see it as a fun challenge, just like any other activity you enjoy. Conclusion: speaking doesn't have to feel serious or stressful. When you make it fun, it becomes something you actually look forward to. Use songs, TV shows, role-playing, games, and anything else that makes speaking enjoyable. The more fun you have, the more confident and motivated you'll become, and the more you'll improve. So, get out there and start practicing with a smile. The more you practice with joy, the better your English will get. And remember, having fun isn't just about the end result. It's about enjoying the process and seeing how much you can grow along the way.